So, good morning, everyone. My name is Yana, and I am a CG specialist at Chaos Group. You should now see my screen. If not, please drop a line in the chat box. So, today I'm going to walk you through the whole process of rendering interior images with V-Ray 3.2. And if you have any questions during the presentation, please write them down in the question box, and after the presentation, I'll be happy to answer them. So here you can see a short webinar overview and what I'm going to cover today, starting with a few words about the new Service Pack 2 for V-Ray 3 for 3ds Max. As we release a service pack, it is not only for bug fixes. In every service pack, there are a lot of improvements, modified and new features, which provide more functionality to V-Ray. And the best part about the service pack is that if you have V-Ray 3.0, you will get Service Pack 1 and Service Pack 2 for free. And now in this workshop, in the following workshop, I'm going to show you how I used those new features and mostly the GPU improvements for creating my interior scene. I'm going to talk about the concept of this interior, which software I have used. Then I'm going to talk about the look development, about the physical camera inside 3ds Max. I'm going to show you how I set the lighting for interiors, talk about a little bit of about the GI. I'm going to show you how I have set some of the materials in my scene, and at the end will come the highlight, the virtual reality, and I'm going to show you the new camera modes for VR inside of V-Ray. And of course, I'm going to render a stereoscopic image which can be loaded in Oculus headset or in Samsung VR gear. So, a few words about my scene. This is a render of it. And the idea was to create a small apartment with 2 rooms, a bedroom and a living room. And mostly, many architectural visualizations start with a drawing inside Autodesk AutoCAD. And then this drawing goes into 3ds Max, and from the lines we can extrude our base structure for the model. And after that we add some furniture and many details, so our image can look more realistic. And the inspiration for the project came from the 4 seasons in the nature. And if you Google winter, you mostly see a white and blue images, and I have Googled it, and here it is. So this is the reason why I have used those 2 colors for my bedroom, because I want to have this cozy winter feeling in it. And for the living room, which you will see just in a few minutes, I have used very warm colors because I wanted to have this warm autumn feeling, and I have used mostly yellow, orange, brown colors, and here are some Google images for the autumn. And of course, my final image was rendered with V-Ray. Let's talk about the look development. And since more and more users want to render on their graphic cards, our developers improve the GPU rendering with every service pack. And this is the reason why for today's webinar I have decided to render on the GPU, so you can see all of those improvements. And now let's jump into 3ds Max over here. And the first thing what I want to do is to set here my engine type to CUDA, since I'm going to render on my graphic card. And because I have NVIDIA graphic card, I'm using the CUDA version. If you guys have AMD graphic card, make sure you have picked the OpenCL. And here you can see now this small apartment, what I was talking about. Here is the living room and here the bedroom. And after the whole process, after the whole modeling process and texturing, it comes to the whitening part. And because I want to have a nice image, I have picked the perfect composition for me. So this is it, and I have placed the camera. This is pretty much what I have done. And because I want to focus just on the whitening and not be destructive of any textures or shaders, what I have done is that I have plugged over here an override material. So everything in my scene will have this material over here. And now let's start the rendering. I'm going to use the RT because it gives me an interactive feedback when I'm tweaking some stuff. And here now you can see that I have completely black image. And this is because I have overwritten all of the materials in my scene. And even the windows has this diffuse V-Ray material, so no white can come through the window, and I have no white into my interior. So how can I fix this? I have here this exclude list, and I can search for the windows which has a glass material, and I'm going to exclude those. So everything will have the override material which I have showed you before, and just the windows will have this glass material. And now you can see that some white is coming through the window, and the white comes. I don't have any whites. Let me show you this first. So there are no whites enabled, and the white which is coming comes from the GI, from the environment color over here. All right, and when I set the whitening for interiors, I usually use the V-Ray Sun and Sky system because it is very flexible, and you see just in a minute what I mean by that. But first, let me go and enable the sun and enable the sky. And if I now take a look at my render, you see that it is overexposed, way overexposed. And the reason is that I just have placed my camera over here. Come on. So here. And I haven't done anything to the render settings. And let's talk about the physical camera. Probably many of you who already used 3ds Max 2016 have noticed the new camera inside it, which can be created from cameras, standard, physical, and I'm going to create one over here. And if I go and create a camera from our toolbox and take a look at the render set and the camera settings, you see that this is exactly the same camera. And this is because Autodesk has developed the new physical camera inside 3ds Max in conjunction with Chaos Group. So let me select my camera, and you see that you find all of the settings you need, but the interface will be a little bit different. So now let's set the proper exposure. Here you have the ISO, and I prefer to use the ISO, set it to 100. Then you can you can set your shutter speed by picking between the seconds, degrees, and frames. So I'm going to set this to 100, and here the aperture. Okay. So now I have set my camera exposure, and now I can play with the sky, because I really don't like this sharp, these harsh shadows over here. So I can easily go in the perspective and play with the position of the sun. If I lower this, I will have more warmer look, and that way I can easily define the lighting conditions into my room. And since I have played a little bit with the position of the sun, I found that this one is the best one, so I have created this helper over here and snapped my sun. And now I'm pretty happy how the sunlight is coming into my living room, and I don't have so much direct light in the bedroom. But at the moment my picture is pretty dark, and now I'm going to use an old and very common trick in V-Ray since the very first version of V-Ray, called the sky portals. And I have some over here, and I'm going to enable those. And you can see that just in a second I have more light in my room. Let me explain what the portals are and what are they doing. A sky portal is basically a normal rectangular V-Ray white, but in the options over here you can see this sky white portal enabled. And it's better to place the portals outside of the window, but very close to it. So, and I have placed four portals for each window I have in my interior. And what the sky portal does is that it turns the environment color into direct illumination and put it into the scene, into my interior. So now the GI has more information to work with. All right, and now I'm pretty happy with the lighting, but still I can see that I have a lot of noise, and this is because I'm rendering on DRT, and because DRT should be interactive, it uses brute force algorithms for calculating the GI, and I want actually to render my interior with using the white cache as a secondary engine. And now I can do that, and I can render a white cache on the GPU. But for this, I'm going to save the image so we can compare after that. For this purpose, I should go over here and change it to production rendering mode. Then here I have picked V-Ray RT, and of course set this to CUDA, and here you can see the white cache. And okay, I'm going to render. And let's take a look at the console, and you'll see that V-Ray is building the white cache. So let's give it a moment. And here it is. So in no time, using the white cache, I have better looking image. I have more white inside it. It's brighter, and I have a lot of less noise. Let's make the comparison so you can see it difference, but it is obvious. All right, now I'm pretty happy with my lighting, and I will leave this like so, and I'm going to jump to my next slide. And here I'm going to talk about some of the materials into my interior, and I'm going to talk about the material of the lamps, of this statue, and about the candle and the grapes. So let's jump back to the 3ds Max, and I'm going to open my next scene, which is this one. All right. Now my camera is placed in the living room, so you can see that I have used this autumn color, what I was talking about previously. I'm going to start the renderer. And as you can see now, in my lamps, there is a white source. I have sphere light. placed. And I'm going to jump to my next camera so you can see it better. Here it is. And from the lamps, I expect to see that there is a light source, and using this material, let me show you the material of the lamps. It is this V-Ray material. It is a reflective one, and yes, nothing so special. I have seen a lot of 3D artists using the V-Ray two-sided material for leaves, curtains, and paper only. Now I want to show you how you can use the V-Ray two-sided material in such situations as well. So I'm going to assign the two-sided material to the lamps. Okay, and what I basically did is I have grabbed the previous material and put it into the front material of the two-sided material. And now you can see that there is something. I can tell that there is a light source. Let's make the comparison so we can see it even better. Here it is. And I can control how much light is passing through the object by decreasing or increasing the translucency over here. So if I want to see more of the light source, I can increase this. Let's say about 30. I'm going to do this for the next material as well. Set it at 30. And because I want to stick to the autumn feeling, and inside I have a little bit of cold colors, cold whitening, I want to go over here, find my whites. There are these ones, and using the temperature, I'm going to type something like this. Okay, and now you can see that I have warmer white inside it. All right, let's jump now to my next camera so we can focus on this statue over here. And at the moment, I'm using this V-Ray material, and it's a very reflective one, as you can see. And the BRDF type is set to blim. I'm going to set the image so we can make the comparison afterwards. And in V-Ray 3.1, we have introduced a new BRDF mode called Microfacet GTR, or also known as GGX. It will give you more physically accurate results, and we will have more information in the reflections. And I'm going to show you this by making the comparison between those two. So this was the blim. Here you can see that it's very dark. I probably have almost no information. And here this is the GGX. So we have better looking results. And the GGX is perfect for all kinds of metals. So if you haven't tried, I suggest to try it because it gives you very nice results. And since V-Ray 3.2, we now support the anisotropy effect on the GPU. So you can play around in order to achieve to simulate some scratches or brushed metal. All right, and let's talk about this candle over here. At the moment, the candle has diffuse V-Ray material, and from a wax candle with a flame inside it, we expect to see here the subsurface scatter effect. So in order to see this effect, I'm going to use the V-Ray Fast SSS material, and I'm going to apply it on my candle. And since V-Ray 3.0, we have now this ray traced mode. Previously, in order to have this effect, we needed a prepass. And now we are using the ray trace mode, which gives you better looking results and more physically accurate results. So, and the best part is that because of it, we can use it now in the RT. It's supported in the RT and on the CPU and now on the GPU as well. And here we have a lot of presets, and I usually use those presets as a base, and then I tweak the material a little bit until I'm happy with the result. And now I'll change the subsurface color to white because I want to have a white candle. And I never use 100% white or 100% black colors because in the nature there are no such colors. So something like white, and the subsurface color will be reflected right away. And after the rays travels to the volume and get back to the camera, we'll see the scatter color over here. So this one. And with the radius, the scatter radius, I can define how deep will the light travels in my object. So if I decrease it, let's say 1, I'm going to see less of the subsurface scatter effect. And if I increase it, I'm going to see a little bit more of it. So here you can see the effect. And the phase function, let's talk about the phase function, and I want to show you a diagram which you can find on our documentation website, docs.chaosgroup.com. And if you use negative values of the phase function, that will mean that you have backward scattering. And in my case, I'll stick with the positive value because I have a forward scattering. So let's imagine that here is our white source. So the white will travel that way, will hit the object, and then will travel through the whole volume. And our camera is here, so we'll see the effect on this particular site. So, and yeah, this was about the candle. Now I have set another camera, this one, and I will create another subsurface material for the grapes. And since the grape is a fruit which is typical for the autumn, I have put some on the table in the living room. And for the grapes, I have prepared this subsurface scatter effect, this subsurface material. And because I have already explained all the options, I have set it in advance so we don't lose any time. And here, because in the nature there are no absolutely the same form, and we have a lot of variation in the color. That's why I'm using here a noise map and a fall-off map, and I have composed those in the composite map, which is now supported on the GPU since V-Ray 3.2. And this texture goes into my subsurface color texture. And for the scatter color, I'm going to use here this fall-off texture with a little bit brighter colors. It's the same like this one. And because I want to randomize the specular color as well, I'm using another noise texture which goes into my specular color texture. And a little bit of bump. And this is pretty much my shader for the grapes. And I have added here V-Ray subsurface SSS2 render element, so I can just focus on my material over here. And because the sunlight is coming from this direction, I will have more of this subsurface scatter effect here and less in this side. Okay. Let's jump back to the presentation and summarize. I have talked about the two-sided material and how you can use it in scenarios like this for the lamps. Then I have shown you how I'm using the GGX for creating metals. And I have rendered subsurface scatter effect on the GPU very fast. All right. Then in the next scene, I'm going to add some detail to the bedroom. So I will add a little bit of fur to the carpet because I want to have this cozy feeling in it in my room. And I will add some detail to the bed sheets and a little bit of environment outside. So let me open my next scene. It is this one. Okay, here it is. And again, I'm going to start the RT. So we have interactivity, what's going on. And this time, my camera is very close to the bed. And when the camera is so close, I expect to see more details. And at the moment, I'm using for the bed sheets a bump map in order to have a little bit more detail. But you all know that using displacement map will give us much better looking results. And I have, let me save this actually so we can compare afterwards. All right, and I have already added a V-Ray displacement modifier on the sheets, and you can see that now I have a lot of detail without modeling anything. So for when your camera is so near to an object, it's better to use the displacement and not the bump. And here is the difference. And since the V-Ray displacement is now supported on the GPU, I can take advantage of it. And I have placed it in my scene. Okay, and let me show you the fur. It's at the moment it is hidden, so I will unhide it. So here it is. And since we do support now here on the GPU, I have used the Ornatrix plugin to add some fur on the carpet, and it's nothing special, just a couple of Ornatrix modifiers. But you should be aware of that V-Ray will render the view count. That means that when you render on the GPU, make sure that your render count here is the same as here. And I have added a surface comp with a little bit of noise, so I have a randomization or a little bit of variation in the bending direction of the strands, of the hair strands, and I have a little bit of curling, clustering, and freeze. So this was all about the setup for the hair. And I'm going to jump to the next camera, this one. And at the moment, I I just see the sky outside or a white cover, and I expect to see something else like trees or buildings because my apartment should be surrounded by some environment. So to simulate an environment, I have built three different very low poly buildings, all different but the same. Here they are. And I have placed a texture on those, and this is the effect. So I can now say that there is something. I'm in the city and not in the middle of nowhere. All right, fine. So until now, I was using the whole time GRT, and I use it all the time when I'm making some changes to the whitening, to the cameras, to the shaders. I always use GRT. But now I should take care of my render settings because I'm going to render a stereoscopic image, and I want to show you how you can set your render quality just with 3 sliders. And I'm going to use the quick settings. Probably all of you had heard of those because they came with V-Ray 3.0, but we have improved those quite a lot. So let me show you those and say a few words about those. And I'm going to open the render settings, and you know that V-Ray has quite a lot of settings. And using the quick settings, I control all of those. And here I can pick between 4 different presets. You can see that some things are changing over here when I click on those icons. And since I have an interior scene, I'm going to pick the interior preset. And in V-Ray, there are different GI engines. And if I'm not sure which one is the most suitable one for my situation, you will find here the most. So here you find which one is the best for your situation, and I can pick between 2 accurate methods of calculating the GI, brute force and brute force and white cache, and there are 2 fast ones, and I'm going to use the brute force and white cache. And if you have some noise in your global illumination render element, you should increase your GI quality. And the shading rate controls all of the whites and the quality of the whites and the materials. If you see that you have some noise in your reflection, or whitening render element, go higher with this slider over here. And the last slider is for the anti-aliasing, and this is the overall quality of your image, and you can pick between bucket rendering or progressive rendering. So in my case, I want to use the progressive rendering. So, and with that step, I'm pretty much ready to go. So now I want to show you how you can render. Now I can show you the new camera modes inside V-Ray. So for that purpose, I'm going to create a camera. And you can render a stereoscopic image with the standard max camera. But since I'm used to the physical camera, I will use this one. And you should place it around the middle of your room. And if we say that an average person has a height of 1.70 m or so, then the eye height will be probably 1.65 m. So this is the height of my camera. Then I should change some settings over here because I have a sun. I should take care of my exposure settings, my camera settings, in order to have a proper exposure. And all right, and then the next thing, in order to render a sphere, is to go inside of the camera settings here and to choose the type. So there are the two new camera types, spherical panorama and cubic one. And I will use first the spherical panorama. And since we want to render a whole sphere, we should override the field of view. And now I think I'm ready to go. So select the camera and click on render. All right, now you can see that I have spherical panorama, but since I want to show you how you can render a stereoscopic image, I will stop that and show you how to do this. So in order to render stereo, you need to add V-Ray stereoscopic helper. You can find it over here under V-Ray stereoscopic helper. Drop one in your scene. It doesn't matter where, or so it will automatically connect to your camera. Let's take a look at those settings. So here we have an eye distance, and an average person has the distance between his eyes about 6.5 centimeters. This is the reason why this is the default value. And if you want to to exaggerate or play with the stereoscopic effect, you can of course change this value. Then there are here three methods of rendering stereoscopic imaging, and those are the none, rotation, and shear. And I personally prefer to use the rotation or the shear one because they gave me better stereo results. And we want to shift both of the eyes and view both of the eyes. All right, and here we have this option, adjust resolution, and I always click on it because that way V-Ray will take care of my image size. At the moment, I have set this to 1000 in the width and 500 in the height. But we want to render two images for the left and for the right eye. So I need to double this, or by clicking this option over here, V-Ray will do that for me. And here you can see that we have another option called the shade map. And the shade map is not a new feature inside 3ds Max. But for Maya, this is a new one, so I will tell you a few words about it. And we can render a shade map. If I click on render shade map and render, V-Ray will render just one picture for the one of the eyes. And then and we'll save it on my hard drive, of course, and then I can reuse it. I go over here, use the shade map, browse it from here, and that way V-Ray will take the information for the left eye, for example, and will render just the missing information for the right one. So you can use the shade map if you want to play with the eye distance or with depth of field, and V-Ray will render very fast. Okay, so I think we are ready to render stereoscopic. Select camera and click on render. Alright, and now you can see that I rendered two pictures, two spherical panoramas, one for the left eye and one for the right. And with this small button over here, I can make a preview, a stereoscopic preview of it. And if I had cyan magenta glasses, I will be able to see the stereoscopic effect. And I have here pre-rendered this so you can see it in a better resolution. Let me just find it. So here it is. Okay, and this picture goes afterwards in the Oculus headset or in the Samsung Gear VR headset. Okay, and now I want to show you the cubic camera type, and for that purpose I'm going to open my last scene. And this time my camera is positioned in the bedroom, and because I have already explained how the stereoscopic helper works, I won't explain it one more time. I have placed it over here. I have my camera set properly. The only thing what I want to mention is that, so there are a few things, of course, but the first thing I want to mention is that you should pick here the cubic camera type in order to render a cube. And since we are rendering a cube, and a cube has 6 sides, it's important to make sure that you have set your image aspect ratio correct, so set it to 6. And let's actually jump here. So because we are rendering 6 sides, and I want to have here sharp edges, I will also disable the image filtering, and I guess I can render now so you can see the result. So render. Okay, I guess I'm not rendering from my camera. Let's try it one more time. Select camera. And try again. Okay, now I'm rendering from my camera. And you can see that I have 12 squares for the left and for the right eye. And if I preview with this button, the stereoscopic effect, you see this combined, the image. And again, I have pre-rendered here a better resolution of this image. So here, let's zoom in and take a look. So this is the top of my room, this is the bottom, the floor. And this image I have loaded into an Oculus headset at the office, and I'm going to show you a demo video what I was able to see. And this is the video. So I can make a circle and take a look what I have in my interior. And yes. So that was all, guys. Thank you very much for your attention.